308. Hello, and welcome to the Driftless Days channel. If you have watched any of my other trout fishing videos, you may have noticed that I like to keep a record of each trout fishing trip. I note the stream I fished, how long I was there, what kinds of fishing regulations were in place, if the site had any in-stream habitat enhancement work that was done by conservation agencies or conservation groups, and then of course how many fish I catch in each one of their lengths. I do this in part to see how each year compares to past years and how each stream I fished compares to all the other streams I fished in the past. This gives me a sort of end of the year analytics report that I enjoy putting together at the end of each fishing season. It helps me reflect on my past experiences and some of the better memories that I have. In this video, I kind of share an overview of the analytics describing how my 2025 trout fishing season went. I hope you find this sort of information interesting, and maybe it will catalyze you to start maintaining your own fishing diary. So during the past trout fishing season, I was able to make 16 separate trips and I caught about 100 trout. And looking back over the past quarter century, basically the length of time I've been keeping these records, this was definitely a year when I was able to trout fish more frequently and catch more trout. You can kind of see a lull here in the middle of this chart, and that's basically a time when family and work obligations didn't allow me to trout fish as much, but I've been trying to make up for lost time in the most recent years. To ensure I'm not biasing my calculations, I express each of my fishing metrics by the length of time I fished. So for example, I calculate how many trout I catch per hour, or maybe how many larger trout, say fish bigger than 12 inches, that I catch per hour. You can see here in this graph that in 2025 I was catching a little over 3 fish per hour, and that's pretty much about average of what I've had in previous years. In addition to looking at how my 2025 trout fishing season compares to past years, I also look at how each stream site compares to all the previous sites I've fished. To do this, I break all of my previous fishing trips since 2002 into fourths or quartiles, and I plot the 25th and 75th quartiles as shown here. So in this figure, the blue line at the bottom is the 25th quartile and the orange line is the 75th. So basically a fourth of my fishing trips since 2002 are below that blue line, another fourth are above the orange line, and basically half the fishing trips, 2 quartiles, are between that 25th and 75th, or between the lines. And so what I'm interested in is how does each one of these stream sites shown at the bottom compare to these quartiles? Are they pretty much within the 25th to 75th, which is what I would define as average, or are some below the 25th, suggesting I didn't have a very good day, or more importantly, are they above the 75th, which suggests I'm having a better than average fishing day? Okay, so let's actually look at some of the data now. Again, this is for catch rates for all the trouts. This is brook, browns, and rainbows combined. And what you can see here are the green bars. That's the catch rate for each one of these sites. And you can see right away that most of the sites are kind of following average, like Rush Creek, the South Branch Whitewater sites, most Weisel Creek sites. But of interest was Diamond and Kedron, where I didn't catch any fish. They fall below the 25th quartile. Again, not a very good day fishing there. Something about the days that I fished, I didn't do very good. I remember Kedron in particular was full of filamentous algae. But of more interest to me is the fact that at both Lynch Creek sites, Mill Creek, and the 2 Pickwick Creek sites, I caught more fish than I usually do when I fish southeast Minnesota streams. And if you saw the Pickwick video, I think I mentioned in that video that when I started I liked to fish Pickwick Creek because I tend to do pretty good there. There we go, there's a fish. There's a nice fish. Nice fish. Bulldogging. One more run. Yep, there he goes, popped out. Beautiful 301. 301. Nice fish. Off he goes. So what were catch rates like of some of these bigger fish that were about 12 inches and larger? Well, it turns out 2025 was pretty typical of recent years that I've been fishing. I got about 0.5 fish per hour. So it takes about 2 hours to get a 12-inch brown trout for me this year in 2025. And if you're curious about which streams I had the most success catching trout over 12 inches, that's kind of what this chart shows. A little bit different picture than what I had with all the different, with the total trout caught. You recall that figure, that Lynch Creek, Mill Creek, and the Pickwick Creek sites, I did really well at those areas in 2025, but not so much for these bigger fish at 12 inches other than Mill Creek. Rather, in this case, Rush Creek was the stream that I did best catching fish over 12 inches. So definitely, it's not always the same between where you catch a lot of fish and where you catch some of the bigger ones. There we go. Hit it good. So the last size group I will share is my catch rate for brown trout that were 16 inches and larger. Catch rate for these fish was about 0.06 fish per hour in 2025, which has been similar to my catch rates in the past few years. At 0.06 fish per hour, this means it took me about 16 hours to catch a brown trout of this size in 2025. I won't share the names of the streams where I caught these larger trout because many trout anglers will tend to get mad if such information is shared. They think that it can make these fish more vulnerable to other anglers. However, if you're interested in seeing one of my earlier videos where I caught some of these larger fish, I'll leave a link for it at the end of this video. Oh man, nice fish there. That about wraps up my 2025 stream trout angling season. I know some anglers may not be interested in all these numbers, but whether you're into sports, trading stocks, or heck, even measuring the success of your social media forums, such as YouTube, analytics are everywhere in our human society today, and I for one enjoy using them to describe my fishing and hunting seasons. I'm not interested in comparing my numbers to anyone else's, but rather I simply enjoy looking to see how my numbers have changed through the years. I hope you enjoyed this video, and thank you again for watching Driftless Days.